How we doing, folks? Right, it's Saturday night, it's Saturday evening, we're just after tea time on Saturday. We've got to get the podcast out for Rangers against Livingston at Livingston tomorrow, Sunday. I've got to make sure it hits the podcast, it hits the YouTube stratosphere, just enough time for you to get to watch it tonight or watch it tomorrow. Because don't get it right, get it written. That's what it used to say above the clock in the Chicago Sun, Tribune, Times, Herald's offices, where the journalists would be in there. Don't get it right, get above the clock. Don't get it right, get it written. And because they'll be trying to get every bit of information. They knew every quote from everybody they'd interviewed, everything they could think about. They wanted to get it all into their articles. Didn't want to cut anything off. They didn't want to edit it at all. They wanted everything in there for the articles to go in the newspaper. But they were putting that much work into it, and it was taking them so long that they're going to miss the print run. They're going to miss that. Their articles weren't going to be in the newspapers that were going to hit, State Street, that great street. I just want to say it first thing in the morning, people weren't going to read any of their words, never mind in reading slightly imperfect. So it's don't get it right, get it written, was what it says. So I'm going to do that just now, because the podcast I did the other night, it was, my phone didn't charge properly. I think it was as a knock-on effect from having done the preview pod till like the 1 o'clock in the morning. And I hadn't really caught up with myself throughout the day, and I'm standing outside Ibrox after the game against Genk, and it cut off. It cut off. What a comment that was. The last thing I said was Nico Raskin, and the phone powered down, as if he's no caused enough trouble. This season, I think that was God telling us who's at fault here. We should trust Russell Martin, no Nico Raskin. I got home, I listened back to it, and I was sounding like it was getting towards kind of 1:45 in the morning when I was recording from home the second part of my post-match reaction for the Genk game, but it was particularly brutal. I was doing that. Anyway, I was reminding myself of Willie Witless. Do you remember a thing called the Glam Metal Detectives? It was a wee comedy series, kind of sketch show series on BBC Two, I think. It was a Thursday nights, a Europa League nights, but back then it was still the UEFA Cup, but also this was the main thing on a Thursday night. It was really one of these series. I had to look it up eventually a few years ago to check. Did I imagine that? Just something that I dreamed of. These, it was there and then it wasn't. It must have been a really short-lived series. But like Phil Cornwell, the impressionist, did Stella Street and all that. Phil Cornwell does the impressions. He's the guy, the other DJ, Alan Partridge. We'd always have a horrible, very funny rivalry with in Radio Norwich or Radio Anglia. Is it Radio Norwich? Anyway, Phil Cornwell, one of the many characters he plays in it is a character called Willie Witless. And I don't think he was in very many, but it's always stuck with me because it reminds me of me when I'm doing these podcasts. And I started listening to myself, listen back to these podcasts that I've been doing, and I'll try to break them up, try to get them into bite-sized kind of, probably be chapters to split it up. Because I'm doing a podcast that lasts an hour and 45 minutes. Folk don't want to listen to that, Alec. At least split it up into the wee chunks, the wee chapters, so they can come in and have a wee dip and see the wee individual kind of 10-minute rants within those far too long pods that you're doing. Don't get it right, get it written. And I listened back to myself and I'm like, my God, I'm just doing what Willie Witless does. He's the world's worst stand-up comedian, Willie Witless. Anyway, you all right? How you doing? How are we? Are you well? Anyway, and it's just anyway. I'm barely staying awake, and I'm putting anybody who's listening to me to sleep as well. So this is, come on, let's do this. Let's get with it. Tonight's gonna be a good night. Tonight's gonna be. So what I've done is I've got my own. I thought I'm going to don't get it perfect, get it podded. Don't get it perfect, get it podded. He says, looking at a bit of paper where he's written that down on because he still can't remember it. He just come up with 2 seconds before he switched the record button on. It's seamless, absolutely seamless. Preparation, fail to prepare. So what I've got my own notice boards in my office is here, and that's what I've written on it. I've written, don't get it perfect, get it podded. So that's what I've put up. No, that's not that bit of my notice board there. That's no, it's not that bit. But I've written, don't get it perfect, get it. No, that's not the bit. Don't get it perfect, get it okay. I can't find the bit I've written that down in the notice board. But this is going to be full of energy. It's going to be buzzing. It's going to be short. It's going to be sharp because we might get it up. We might get a decent time to let you see what I've written, and I'm full of life because I went to. I've got faith in Russell Martin's. His visual metaphors are as painful as my actual patter, but it's strained, isn't it? It's strained. Everything's kind of coming to a standstill. I'm slowing down. Everything's empty. We're rocking I think we're all running on empty. I've had faith in Russell Martin. I thought he was going to be all right, but even the crisps, even the McCoys, and that it's empty. It's drained. It's gone. Totally drained. And I went to Morrison's this morning to top up. I watched The Brutalist last night. The Brutalist, you seen it? It's Aidan Brody is the best actor. And there's enough in there to you can see why. It's like you read a Booker Prize winning book, you go, oh, that's a Booker Prize winning book. You know, it might not be the best book gone, might not be the actual quality, might be a bit showy or whatever, but it's slightly OTT. It's kind of There Will Be Blood vibe about it, that kind of sweeping, energetic panorama. This wasn't quite as energetic, but it was in the visuals. It worked. It definitely what I really enjoyed it. There's bits in it that were a bit unintentionally funny stuff going on in it as well. It was quite, you can have a laugh about it afterwards, quite good. But it's like 3 hours, and I felt myself just thinking more and more about Rangers. It's gone too far. It's a film. They filmed it in VistaVision, which is genius. I'm going to go and see it at the cinema because it looks beautiful, and I like all the Bauhaus stuff and I can't help it. I do enjoy that kind of stuff, and it's really important. There's a beautiful line he says. He justifies why he loves making these buildings in the way he does, and he's talking to a wasp. He's talking to a wasp on a sofa, and it's Guy Pearce, who's just been in all the adverts for it's a furniture company. He's sitting you think he's sitting at his breakfast table in the morning having a wee cup of coffee and that, but it turns out he's actually in a showroom for, and I'm sure that's Braehead or Paisley or something that's been filmed. No, there's anything wrong with Braehead or Paisley, but it's quite a thing to see Guy Pearce. It's either posh folk or Antipodeans, isn't it? When you're watching anything decent, you think the posh folk and Antipodeans, they're just taking over in Hollywood, or this is more art house. I would say, but I've heard folks in that Felicity, somebody almost steals the show for you. She almost ruins the flipping thing. She's garbage. She's just laughable at times, I thought. But it's the characters and it's the story and it's the sentiment behind it and it's the stuff. It's covering all sorts of stuff, I would say. But it looks beautiful. It looks phenomenal. And there's a bit with a train. I don't want to plot spoilers. I don't want to ruin it, but I won't by telling you there's just a scene where it's train. The Holocaust is obviously at the centre of it, and it's that beautiful modernist writing thing. Hemingway's iceberg theory of writing, where the thing that most dominates is the thing that's kind of least mentioned, the thing that's dominating everybody. Fiesta, Sun Also Rises, talking about playing Osasuna. The second European game I ever went to was Rangers against. It wasn't the second, it was the third. It was the third European game I went to. No, it was the second. I was the second. Inter was first. The following season with Boavista Alec. You don't get time to have this argument just now. There's folk watching. Okay. Aye, so it was Osasuna, Pamplona, and then the Sun also. Right, a few years later, I went to that was 1985, 86 season. Went to see Rangers against Osasuna. Osasuna's first ever game in Europe. Talking about that in the pod last week, but I'm pointing up there because up there on that shelf I've got my entire Hemingway collection. I've got the entire Hemingway collection. Well, obviously not absolutely everything, but I've got all the major novels and most of the minor ones and his letters and all that kind of stuff up there. It's really boring if I start going on about it, but The Sun Also Rises, Fiesta, it's one of my favourite books of all time, certainly my favourite Hemingway book, and it's a modernism, and it becomes the brutalist and brutalist's architecture, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, there's a line at the end. There's a film. The bit I'm talking about is it's the train going through the American countryside, the North American countryside. This train going through, and it's like a drone or maybe it's a helicopter. I don't know where they're shooting it from, but they pull back, and they pull up, and the train's going. And I didn't think anything was going to happen. I thought it was just showing you a train, because the trains, obviously when you think about the Holocaust, the first thing you think about is the train. It wasn't the first thing you think about, but the trains are such a major part of it. And then at the end, the very last line, it turns out there's a wee thing happens right at the end of that scene, but it's amazing, and it's just making you think the expanse here, the freedom that they have in America, supposedly. That's another big theme in the film. To be on a train must be traumatic for anybody who went through that, who went to the death camps and survived. But this is one going through look at the space, look how beautiful it is, look how free this is compared to the most traumatic train ride they ever had. But then something bad happens at the end of that actual scene, and then at the end, the very last line, and it is the very last line in the film. I'm not giving anything away by telling you this, and the woman says, don't believe what the others tell you. It's no the journey, it's the destination. It's no the journey, it's the getting there. Don't believe it. At first I thought she said, don't believe what the authors tell you. And she's quoting Laszlo Toss, she's quoting the Adrian Brody character, who is an amalgam of all different. Mies van der Rohe, and I love Mies van der Rohe. I've been to Chicago and all that sort of Mies van der Rohe stuff. I did the architecture tour. You got to do that when you're over there. It's like going up the Blackpool Tower. It's not a big deal. I'm not trying to make up some sort of deep intellectual. You just do that kind of stuff. But I love all the Bauhaus stuff. I love all the Bauhaus stuff in that total wanky West End drinker type of way. No one really knowing anything about it or understanding their condition. But it's a film that's trying to make you understand, and it's Mies van der Rohe, it's Marcel Breuer, it's Goldfinger, the original Goldfinger. Nah, it's the same guy. They based his Ian Fleming lived next door to one of his seasons. But it's all these different what they went through, but it's fantastic. But it's getting the journey, and you're thinking, and she tells you how he designed the building, the main building at the centre of the film. And the film takes so long, and it's not the journey, it's the getting there, and the building took so long, and lots of horrendous things and amazing things happened between the conception of the building and the confluence of circumstances that lead to the building being built. And then, actually, Rangers didn't get beat today, Rangers haven't played today. I don't know why I'm doing this thing, I go on about another subject, but it wasn't another subject. I think it sums up the desperation of the situation as a Rangers supporter right now, that at the end of this film, which is basically about how the Jews have been persecuted by everybody, and then people continue to persecute them because they feel guilty about persecuting them. And it's like the word Protestant is mentioned so often in this. It's about 3 times it's mentioned. It's the most I've ever heard the word Protestant mentioned in a film. And I even watched that Paul Schrader film where it was all about a Lutheran minister, some sort of Protestant minister in a small town in the States. Anyways, Ethan Hawke ends up, he's covered in barbed wire and stuff like that. He's having visions. It's an amazing film. It was totally under-publicised as far as I'm concerned. But I've watched it. I feel this is the most the word Protestant has ever been used in a movie. So I couldn't help it. It's having to go to the WASPs, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, who are the money people in the States, and they want to use the Jewish experience only as far as they can exploit it to make themselves look good. Oh, look at my cool architecture by my hand, and it's like, because no people in the world know more than anybody else to take people. See, when people say we're going to kill every one of you, nobody knows like the Jewish people. You need to take that threat seriously, and I think just now it was really, and people are loving just now being able to say, Holocaust. Oh, actually, we get to take the word Holocaust off the Jews because it's the people that go about going, oh, but they killed Jesus. They just so handily. So many of them happen to be just getting on board with the Palestine thing, and but that's it. Really, it's a film that really hits in hard. So you're quite pathetic as a Rangers supporter to be sitting there, and when somebody says it's no the journey, it's the getting there. It's no the journey, it's the destination. You're thinking, aye, so the bad results under Russell Martin, the bad performances don't really matter as long as it's about getting us there, getting us to the point where we are winning and we are using possession football as a positive as opposed to being scared of it as we have been the past couple of seasons. You think, you really need to have a word with yourself because that just is totally inappropriate to the themes in this film and the themes of the today, world politics and whatever that it's touching on. You really are taking this OT because I'm drained. I can't. The Rangers thing's not going to go away with me. It's always going to be there, but I'm just drained of any kind of being able to keep things in perspective. And I'm at Morrison's this morning and I'm driving back from Morrison's and it's raining. Tinseltown is in the rain and I'm parking the car, just temporarily at the lights, the red lights, outside if you know Annie's Land Cross, just come through under the train station, under the bridge, and you get the Weatherspoons, and if you're heading towards the West End, you get the Weatherspoons on the right hand side. Esquire House, the famous Esquire House is on the right hand side, the other side, the Joe Carriageway, on the left hand side, right next to you. The old cinema, the old kind of Art Deco, cinema Art Deco and modernism and brutalism, and it's now converted into flats, obviously, as all these Art Deco. See, there were cinemas and there were bingo halls, and then they became flats and stuff. Sometimes pubs, sometimes Weatherspoons, but this one's all flats. It's just at Annie's Land Station, and they've kept the facade, the old Art Deco facade of the old cinema. And one day I was out walking. I must have told you this before because I love a coincidence. They mean nothing, but I can't help loving them. It's because I'm not religious in any way. That's my replacement for it. But I'm walking around the whole area, doing Jordan Hill and everything. I was out walking for about an hour or something, 5-6 miles, kind of slow walk one day, and I'm listening to stuff on my headphones, and it was BBC iPlayer, and it was something about, was it that? Oh, was it the music, the programme they did, but the music where it's people's, or soul music, it's called soul music, and it's one particular song that's affected lots of people all over the world, and they interview, individuals, and they tell you their experience and how that song chimes with a particular experience or a particular feeling in their life. Maybe it was that. If it was, I can't even remember the song. But the thing was, I remember it was an old gay Glasgow, an old gay guy from Glasgow, talking about back in the day how they had to keep these things quiet when he was a young man. And I'm like, all right, that's you think, oh, so you get a Glasgow accent, because even if something's filmed or recorded by the London BBC or the Manchester BBC, whatever, you still get that kind of, oh, it's a Glasgow accent, that's great, or a West Coast of Scotland accent, that chimes with me, that's almost coincidental, but it's the British Broadcasting Corporation, it should be having accents for your part of the world, but it's like, oh, that's great. But then the guy says, and what we used to do was we'd go to the old cinema, I can't remember the name of it, at Annie's Land Cross, which is now Flats. I'm walking past it. I'm walking past it as I'm listening to this. I'm basically standing at the front door, what would be the old steps into the cinema. I'm like, that's a mind-bending coincidence. It was the cinema, and it was a Brutalist, and it was the architecture, and it was postmodern, and I'm sitting... No, it wasn't postmodern, it was modern, and I'm sitting in the car the day, and it's raining, and Tinseltown's in the rain, and the car in front of me, I don't know if the car just been cleaned or it was just the rain hitting it, but the boot of the car, I think it was a Mini, one of the Minis, it's kind of grey anyway. And there's a screen on the back of this car. Like outside the car, I can see like a cinema screen. What the hell's going on here? It's reflected onto it. I'm thinking there must be... And I know I've been in the Witherspoons, I've been in the Esquire House quite a few times over the years, the one at Annie's Land Cross. So I know it's the telly's in there. They've got plenty of tellies, for your the Fitbit of the Sky Sports News on and the racing on and stuff. But they're not reflecting onto that's not what's reflecting there. Is this a ghost of the screen that they removed from the Art Deco cinema to make way for these folk to have the glory of a house overlooking Annie's Land Station? Is that what? And I suddenly realised, no, it isn't. There's a billboard. It's the old billboards that you get mounted on the grass banking that goes up the side of a railway bridge, and it's at the edge of the Witherspoons car park, the Esquire House car park, and there's a grass bank and it goes up to the railway line, and they've got a massive billboard on there, but it's electronic. It's one like LCD. It's moving pictures. The adverts keep changing. And it's usually Radio Clyde or stuff that's going on at Braehead, PLZ Soccer, and all that. I was walking past, and the big adverts come flashing up, they're changing all the time. But it was shining in the back of that car. I'm thinking, outside the architecture, I watched a movie last. I'm going to go and see Vista Vision for the 50s, the cinema for the 30s, or whatever like that. And it's a film all about the 40s and the 50s and into the 60s, and all I can think about is Rangers and how we're not doing the business under Russell Martin, and my positivity for Russell Martin hit a brick wall the other night because he just took it too far. How you doing, folks? This is your fat ache after 4 straight home games across 3 different competitions, in which we failed to score in 3.5 of those 4 games. Let's go to Livingston, where we've never had any problems whatsoever, and try to score our first league win under Russell Martin just before October. Remembering that Russell Martin has never won an away game as Rangers manager, but hey, you never know. Perhaps it's already working, the plan, and maybe it's taken hold. The plan, that is, not the plans, the architecture, but just in ways that we can't properly see. Like an angry wasp who can't really see why this building you can't make any kind of compromises in the architecture, because there's no doubt it's definitely a different feeling to be sitting here on a Saturday tea time as I'm recording this, no actually giving the monkeys that Celtic have dropped a couple of points. Find it quite interesting that Hearts might win the league, but that's just a different world, that's a different hemisphere. You're sitting here on a Saturday night praying that the Motherwell Aberdeen game that's going on just now is going to end in a draw, so Rangers, if they win by 2 goals at Livingston, can go into the top 6. preview pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet tomorrow night, Sunday night, 9:30, the flagship show live on the Jersnet YouTube channel. It's going to be Colin, it's going to be John, it's going to be Stuart, the three OGs, the three main men, the three legends, top legends of Jersnet. So check that out, folks. They will be reviewing what's happened or hasn't happened at Livingston, what's happening, might happen, and a lot of folk are upset it hasn't happened, probably in the boardroom at Rangers and in the technical area. Ibrox, and they'll be looking at the European stuff last Thursday and this coming Thursday. Check out Jersnet at 9:30 tomorrow night, folks. I am sponsored by Jersnet, and I'm also sponsored by Morrison's 3 for $8.75. It's 3 for $8.75. You can get you get the chicken enchiladas, and they're $3.75 each. The chicken enchiladas, $3.75, and you get the beef burrito. That's £3.75, and you get the rice bowl, pulled pork rice bowl. So it's three different things. It's not just like chicken. It's beef, it's chicken, and it's pork. $3.75 each, or you get a 3 for $8.75. You know. So that's, you get three separate meals there for 3 nights of the week sorted out. If you're going to do 3 for the price of one, I don't just think about that in terms of the price. I think that's just have the 3 of them in a one. But yeah, I still couldn't keep myself up there. I'm sponsored by that. I'm sponsored by Jersnet, and I'm also sponsored by a wee thing I'm going to call adjectival determinism. Adjectival determinism. Do you think that because the Americans, I know douchebag is a noun. A douchebag describes something, but do you think that if you invent that word or you start using that word, it's because you are that thing? You know, the Americans at douchebag, and I'm watching the Americans at the golf, and I just think, fucking douchebags. But shut up, you douchebag. I hate you douchebags. And I'm not a golf person. I'm really not a golf person. So I'm sponsored by adjectival determinism. We'll get into that a bit. But just let me think. I was watching the Ryder Cup, and I always watch the Ryder Cup. And it's that there's a limit, isn't there? There's a limit with everything. Like, I'm not. I've been in golf. Folk have signed me in. I've been to guys stag do's and that. I've ended up in the golf club. I've played golf maybe like a dozen times in my life. My mate's stag do was we all went to go. He's dead now. My mate died. 50-year-old. He didn't get his 50th actually. His 50th is round about now, to be honest. This time of year, but he died when he was 49 and 11 months and about 2 weeks. Anyway. Andrew, so his stag do, we all went and we played golf, and it was a good laugh and all that kind of thing, but I'm not really a golf person. I'm not. It's a hint of sex, blatant sexism at times, and I don't know into that kind of business doing it. But when it comes to the Ryder Cup, though, and golf, I kind of bother with the Ryder Cup and the Americans. I mean, what? Get Europe to sort that. Just get that. That's not. No, I might not like the golf that much, but there's just a limit. Europe, get that sorted. Get them out. Same with rugby union. It's very, again, the sexist stuff and the drinking songs and the slightly rapey vibe and rugby clubs, and I'm not really into all that stuff at all. I played rugby once for the school, and don't let it bounce. If you're playing at fullback at the rugby, I get plenty of time, but don't let it bounce, because you don't get plenty of time at all. But I played once for the school. I enjoyed it. I was quite happy, but they didn't seem to want me to come back. But I'm not really a rugby. And rugby league, I quite like that. I know, but rugby, it's a lot of no, in every country, in Wales and all that. New Zealand, it's no kind of posh boy thing. In Scotland, it's a bit of both. You got a lot of guys that work on the farms and all that down south, the borders. It's no scenes, but the rugby folk in my kind of part of the world, and that's a kind of very wanky. I'm not really into that, and it's like England are winning at Murrayfield. Get that sorted, Scotland. Come on, Scotland. Come on, the Scotland Rugby Union chaps. Come on, get into it. I'm not having that at all. That's got to be. That is got to be. It's like the football hooliganism. It's a cancer. Football hooliganism is an absolute cancer of the game. I'm not having that. I'm not wanting that. Boys getting into fights, and it's something quite kind of. I've nothing against folk being gay and all that, and meeting up and doing what they got to do. But I always feel as if they running about the town for guys who are trying to be, overtly heterosexual, and they feel this is a really heterosexual thing to do. Running about the town, kind of like phoning guys from another firm so they can get together in a back street and have, serious physical contact with each other. It just sounds a kind of cruising type scenario, but that's the whole. I tried it when I was young, but you're confused at that age and you don't really know what you want to do. I had a wee, kind of went along with the ICF a couple of times. I just in the peripheries. I was, discovered it wasn't the thing for me mainly because I can't fight and I can't run, but. Very, very slow. Don't let it bounce. But I don't really do the football hook. I think it's a total cancer. And the minute I saw that footage for Christmas time when the Union Bears, seemed to be running away through like Argyle Street and that in the town, they seemed to be running away for the Green Brigade. And I'm like, I can't get that. So what? Get that one. Never mind. I thought you were into football hooliganism. There's a limit, though. There's a limit. You got to. But I'm quite content knowing that we're the hardest in the country. That's our boys. The boys that are into the football hooliganism. That's bad. Don't do that again. But just keep winning. Make sure you're on the top. So I was quite. There's a limit. There's a limit you get to. And with me, it's when it comes to Russell Martin, it's obviously European football. You can I've tried the domestic stuff. I've seen Rangers winning 9 league titles. I've seen Rangers winning so many league titles, so many Scottish Cups, so many League Cups. I don't even care. So many Old Firm games, home and away. I've seen it all. I don't really. We'll get there. That'll happen again. That's not going to be a problem. We'll get beat 1-0 off one of the worst Genk sides of all time. Fucking do one, Martin. Just do one, son. I'm no interested in it. My name's Alec Anderson. Time and again I tell myself I'll stay clean tonight, but the little green wheels are following me. Oh no, not again. I'm stuck with a valuable friend. I'm happy, hope you're happy too. One flash of light, but no smoking pistol. I've never done good things. I've never done good things. I've never done bad things. I've never done bad things. I've never did anything out of the blue. Whoa, 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 whoa. Want an axe to break the ice. Wanna come down right now. Ashes to ashes, funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, stuck out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low. My mama said to get things done, you better not mess with Major Tom. My mama said to get things done, you better get rid of that Russell Martin. My mama said, no, wait, hold on. Maybe it's no the way to get that done. We've done it before, we've tried that and things like that. My name's Alec Anderson. And no, you're right. I hear it now. I hear that buzzing. It's not a fly. It's sounding like a fly that's maybe going to batten against the window. You were hearing that. I couldn't hear it. It sounded like a moth that had come in and go inside the actual lampshade. And it's because it thinks the bulb is the sun. I couldn't hear it, but yeah, I hear it now. I was kind of mocking you when you were saying it was that daddy long leg that's kind of clicking against the curtains. You can't really hear it. I couldn't hear it, but you were saying you could hear it. I can hear it now. Is that an alarm? Is it somebody's house alarm, a burglar alarm? Is it a car alarm? It's in the distance. It's so far in the distance. Maybe I couldn't hear it, but you were saying you could hear. I can hear it now. It's maybe one of the things that you're. It sounds like a calf or maybe a lamb, kind of baying or bleating for its mother, or it's needing milk or something. And you hear in the distance and you think, what is that? It's in the middle of Glasgow here, in the middle of the city. Why? But you listen harder, and it turns out it's actually one of the e-bikes. It's the boys at Mary Hill that are running about 2 in the morning. The e-bike, and that's all right. But I couldn't hear it. And you were saying you could hear it, and but I can hear it. I can hear it now. I can hear when he appears on Sky Sports News, because we didn't have a pre-match presser really yesterday, did we? If we did, I haven't seen it and I haven't watched it. But he's got glasses on. Is that a disguise? Is it trying to look more intellectual? Is he just? I can hear it when he's talking about the red card and then talking about the red card and then talking about the red card and how he did really well for the red card. We did really starting to great, starting to really. I'm not really enjoying that. Not enjoying what I'm hearing. And we did well. And we didn't get cut through. They didn't cut through us at all. They didn't open us up, and they didn't. I don't like folk getting really personal with Russell Martin. I've been dead against that. But it's Europe when you start kind of maybe kind of defend. We can't score. We only lost 1-0 with 10 men. Aye, but that's because Genk can't finish. I said the same about Panathinaikos. Folk were saying that about Panathinaikos. The only reason we beat Panathinaikos was because because they couldn't finish, and I'm like, that's true, they definitely did miss a lot of chances, but you have to take the result. There's something you don't know how this football's going. Maybe we've kind of out-vibed them a bit or something like that, but they signed Dessers straight after that. But so between Hibs and Pilsenia at Ibrox, our best domestic and our best European performances, beating Hibs last Saturday 2-0 and beating Pilsenia 3-0 at Ibrox, and between Bruges away and I don't know what else. What's been our worst performance? Hearts at Ibrox, probably. They were worst performances, I would say, under Russell Martin, the European and domestic. Does that mean that Genk the other night was the median, was the mean, was the average, was the middle, was the true? If they were fluctuations, the best result and the worst results and performances under Russell Martin so far, the other night feels like that's where we're at just now, with where the plan has actually progressed to. It wasn't torrid. That was the thing. It was tepid, but it was dramatic. There was lots happening, incident-wise, but it was just awful. And I mentioned this in my somnambulant, soporific post-match reaction pods, but it kind of bears repeating, and it's all I've had to think about the past few days, the past kind of 48 hours almost since that game. Is that it? Is that where we are so far? That's bad. It doesn't just have to improve at Livingston. It needs to explode. Imagine what's his name, Constantis Carestis would have done if he'd come on. He scored against Scotland at Hampden already this season. Constantis Carestis, he's a Genk-born Greek international, just going to turn 18 in a couple of months. A wunderkind. I don't know if he was injured or whatever, but he was on the bench the other night, never came off the bench. But I saw him at Hampden scoring against Scotland back in March in the Nations League relegation playoff. He's got amazing pace and amazing skills. You have to wonder, but I remember all the chances that ex-Celtic player missed. He could have had 2 hat-tricks the other night quite easily. If he just normal finishing, he was missing sitters as well as a penalty, which is the kind of formal sitter that you can miss in football. If this boy Carestis had come on, God knows what could have happened to us. He didn't, and that's fine, but we weren't really missing anybody who would have made a massive difference. Except maybe we could have put Ant-Man on. That's a tactical thing that we've got an opinion on as a support, that Ant-Man would have done better than Mikey Moore, but perhaps not. We don't know that for sure. Kind of feeling that Bojan Majowski definitely would have done better if he'd started the game. But again, you can see the manager's point that Majowski's played no football at Girona and then suddenly he's playing every week with us. Maybe it's time to give him a wee rest. But Carestis, he's born in Genk, but he's not playing for Belgium. He's elected to play for Greece. It must be. I think it's mental, that, isn't it? To be in a country that's so right. We'll get Mikey Moore. Wales are sniffing around him. You might come and play for us because you might not get a game for England. The fact you've had to go to Rangers is obviously a bad sign for your England career, even though you played at all the youth levels. And Carestis, it must be great coming from one of the countries that's so good that folk elect to find another country to play for. Never happens to Scotland, does it? Anybody who's we're one of the countries that you go to play for if you're born in England or you're born. You never hear anybody in Scotland, anybody born in Scotland get a chance to play for Scotland and playing for another country. You don't hear anything like that. No, it's funny when I'm sitting the other night. You can see down to the pitch side at half time. You can see Emma Dodds talking to Alan Hutton and Scotty Arfield. Seen him scoring at Hampden a couple of times as well. Scotty Arfield. But my reporting Scotland anecdote that I did on Thursday nights. It was very early. It was well into Friday morning. It was by the time I got it up. The second part of my post. By the time I got the pod up, by the time I got the pod posted, grow up. The amount of chicken I have on the chance. But the post-match reaction the other night, I did this thing about reporting Scotland and how there'd been like 5 minutes spent in reporting Scotland on Wednesday night talking about Lulu's alcoholism and talking to Lulu. That's about a book that's coming out. And then there was the next report really was, well, it wasn't the next, but the next thing was they'd spent 10 minutes talking about how some place that sells baked potatoes in Aberdeen had a really funny name that it was getting sued by a place in Elgin that sell other baked goods. And that was, oh my God. And I was like, the bit in between about Huntington's disease being cured was like a 5-second item. Just like, you can look on our website if you want to know more about that happy that unadulteratedly happy news item that's really positive, will save lives and change lives and just be so good. But we don't want that, do we? We just want misery. We just want lots of misery. We want that kind of soul-sucking binary of everything being really bad. And that's, I think we've actually got to the stage where maybe we're doing that with our achievements as a support. This is what I was thinking. As a support, perhaps we're doing that with our actual achievements. It's within, this is, I love the kind of gratuitously salacious versus genuine positivity, and it's within the theme of us not liking our European achievements because we're not winning the league. Like, you could hand back the League Cup. If we win the League Cup in December or whatever, you can hand that back. Could we just swap that? Can we change that up for the league title? And we'll not take that. That means we're more chance of winning something. You don't have more chance of winning something else because you stopped winning an alternative competition. Like, it's this world of binary oppositions. I think we're particularly prone to that as a support just now because of everything that they've been through. It's going to be either Russell Martin or Nico Raskin. It can't be both of them. It can't be both of them are good and they should work together. It can't be both of them are terrible. And the two of them are a pair of fannies and they can both get gone. No, I mean, where was Nico Raskin the other night? What happened to Nico the other night? The saviour, it was all about him last Saturday night. That's why it's a big game for him. That's why he turns up. Wasn't it all about him? I mean, he's playing against Belgium. Do you think he might raise his game for that, even for selfish reasons? But he didn't turn up and say, it's not done to Nico Raskin. The whole team's got to play. But this kind of the world of perma-ramies, which has reduced us to seeing our own achievements as rivals. The amount of Rangers fans have said to me, and particularly getting in touch with the podcast here the past couple of years, I don't care what we do in Europe. It's stopping us winning the league. And I just always keep you doing something well. You've got to keep doing it well. And that's it. It's like that scene in The Equalizer. Talking about films, the first of the Equalizer films under, when it's Denzel, the peerless Denzel Washington playing Robert McCall. I'm talking about things that sound the same the other night, Ghent and Genk and things you can't tell. But you can tell Robert McCall with an A apart from R.S. McCall. With an O, Robert McCall, that different explanation. But when he's sitting and he turns up and he's got the bodyguard that he's just done in, the Russian body, he's got his glasses and he sticks them in front of the guy. It's Michael Shorka. He's playing Nikolai, the evil ex-Spetsnaz psychopathic, murderer of women and stuff like that. The evil, the anti-hero of that film, the villain, And he turns up and he sits down at the table. What do you see? What do you see when you look at me? Nothing. I don't care. I don't care about anything. To me, he's saying to Robert McCall, he's saying to Denzel, he's daring to say to Denzel Washington, you're like a bottle top or a piece of lint, just something I've got to get rid of, something that means nothing, an inanimate object almost, He doesn't care. That's how he can kill. That's how he can ruin things. That's how he can destroy everything. That's his strength, is not caring. And Robert McCall sits and tells him because he's got contacts. He's got contacts because he's worked for the CIA. He's so black ops. Denzel Washington, he's got contacts everywhere, and he's talked to somebody in the KGB or the Moscow State Police, and he heard this story about a boy who's obviously Nikolai, who got taken in by a scholar, taken in by an intellectual, famous Russian intellectual, scholar and an author who had so much love in his heart, so much faith in humanity, that despite the fact he had 4 or 5 children of his own, he took this young boy, out of the Russian, adoption system, out the orphanage. He took this orphan boy who had a terrible history of being violent and disruptive and misbehaving. He took him into his home, and every time that boy did something wrong, every time he misbehaved, he blamed the intellectual. He knew it was about the system, it was about the boy had been through, so he'd be patient with him. He just showed him love. He just kept showing him love. And then one night, the intellectual and his wife were murdered, and their kids were put into care. Or went to live with other families. That's what it is. But he thinks Robert McCall's basically saying it was you, Nikolai, wasn't it? It was you, because he says because you were so scared. You were so scared that this guy would stop loving you, would see the evil within you, that you killed him. You just basically made it easier on yourself by killing somebody that loved you because you'd been rejected so many times before you couldn't face the thought of being rejected again. You didn't want to believe in love. You didn't want to believe things could be better, and I feel that's what we've been like under the past few years, having gone through what we went through, and 2011 and 2012, and then the fight back just being so harrowing, taking so long, the comeback, the journey. But the journey isn't finished. We have to realise the journey isn't finished. We can't be scupping it ourselves, and I felt as if we've been extra negative towards Russell Martin because he's coming in there with the esoteric, kind of pattern. He's coming in there with the yogi. He's full of Eastern, mysticism and these self-help aphorisms and things like that. This guy wants to love us. He wants to change us. I know we've been saying we can't handle not being able to win the league, but this isn't. He wants to love us, and I reject it. He's wanting to change us to we enjoy possession football. No, I like playing the counter attack. I've got so used to it just being able to play in the counter attack that I don't mind dropping points at St Mirren, at Motherwell, at Easter Road. Just let's get rid of him. Get rid of him. He wants to love us. Let's murder him before he actually has a chance. And I've got kind of sick of it. And I end up sticking up for Russell Martin, and I stick up for the plan, and certainly the need for us to do something that's going to change everything. That's why we're at this situation where we're like, we've done well in Europe, we've got to a European final. Oh my God, it can't be good. It can't be good because it's the league we want to win. It's the league we want to win. It can't be good. It's like we're scared to take on board anything good we're doing as a support. But he must be sick of it. He can't win 2 straight games. He can't win 2 straight games. Like Michael Beale when he lost 3-1 at home to Aberdeen, the game that was actually going to finish him. Like Philip Clement when he lost 2-0 at home to St Mirren, the game that finished him. Perhaps even a bit like Gio when he went and he lost at St Johnstone, then he went and he drew at St Mirren. You knew they were going into games, these managers. You knew that the pressure was starting to mount. Their time was running out. They were going to have to pull off some sort of miracle. But these games they would win. They would win these games. And the doubters, the serious doubters, it's just the Russell Martin serious doubters just now are thinking, Genk, he's going to annoy us by winning this. You'd see folk getting their arguments in first. I win this game, but it doesn't count. It's not going to change my mind. I know. But then they don't even win that game. Once they get beat off Queen's Park, that was it for Philip Clement. He wins 3-1 at Hearts. All right, that's probably gave him a stay of execution. So we'll beat St Mirren this Saturday. Then we'll need to test him out the next time we get. If Celtic gob us in the next Old Firm game, that'll be him done for. But St Mirren beat us 2-0 and he's away. And for me, though the man hasn't been sacked, and there's taking my own advice from like Wednesday night and the rest of the season before that. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's just he is going to stay the course whether we like it or not. Oh, Andrew Kavanagh doesn't seem to be going home, does he? He's still hanging about board meetings and little official things that need to be, paperwork needs to be done, notwithstanding. He seems to be still hanging about, Andrew Kavanagh, and it's driving Russell Martin mad now. He's starting to snap when he's asked about it by the press. I can understand why, but I'm getting to the point where I can't really stick up for him anymore. These guys are always going on. Every time Andrew Kavanagh, he talks to everybody. He's not just in to talk to me. He's not just here to give me the dreaded vote of confidence. He's just talking to. But I felt as if the other night it was one of those games where we'll win this, obviously, because it's the Europa League and Rangers can't help it. And I wasn't 100% sure, obviously, if you were up late enough to see my preview pod, or if you did the time spare to see my preview pod before that game kicked off, I did say that there was doubts. It could go either way. Things are a bit crazy just now, but it's almost the fact that it was just, they've just lost 1-0 and they were down to 10 men, so it's kind of explainable that made it worse. It made it worse somehow. It's like, is that our base level? Is that what we're at really just now? I always talk about, if you're talking about this season as a journey, the journey, first part of the journey was coming up through. Some people thought that was the journey, just getting out of the lower leagues and back into top flight. It never was, and we soon realised it wasn't. Once we're back in the top flight, and that turned into a nightmare for the first 3 seasons or so. But the lowest point for that is probably Cowdenbeath for me personally. I know we had this spectacular loss to Alloa that I'm always talking about, that we all know about, in the Challenge Cup semi-final at Alloa. We're 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go and we managed to lose 3-2. No need for penalties, no need for extra time. We're out despite winning 2-0 at Alloa. Having been in the Challenge Cup final and losing it after extra time the previous season, we just wanted to get back to that point and rectify how the final had got. No, you're 2-0 up. No, it was awful. but it was spectacularly awful. The real proper nadir for me, when I think about it emotionally, was this home win over Cowdenbeath. I think it's Dean Shields scored the only goal of the game, and it might even have been a deflection. We won the game, but there was about 20,000 there, 29,000 maybe, talking of low crowds. So many season ticket holders hadn't turned up. It was a Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and it was, I don't know, was it January, was it November, but it was peeing down, it was miserable. We also went and drew 0-0 at Central Park Cowdenbeath that season as well. I wasn't at that one, I know. Plenty of Rangers fans were, so that was a low, but I feel as if that's what it was. That kind of, it's no bad enough to be going crazy about it. It's there's enough there for you to give you a reason to say, oh, well, they did okay, because they won the game and against Cowdenbeath, whereas on Thursday night we only lost 1-0 to 10 men. Last time we played Belgians with 10 men, we get beat 6-0, so there's a massive improvement. I don't. But I feel as if he must be sick of it. It was just so low. It was so kind of drab. Maybe that was the game. He didn't get sacked like Beale and Gio and Philip Clement unexpectedly going after a poor result against somebody they were expected just to beat and move on to the next game, which is going to be... For me, I feel as if I kind of sacked him a bit in my mind. I lost faith. I lost my belief in Russell Martin with that game the other night, and suddenly now his press conferences and that are getting on my nerves the way they've gotten other people's nerves. He had no flu or anything in this post-match presser, and it still sounded like his Hearts post-match. This is the one on Thursday night after the Genk game. It's like he sounds like he's given up, but I think it's actually just him in kind of shut it down mode. He goes into just shutting it down. He must be sick of it. He's obviously sick of the journalists. He's been sick of his players publicly, berating them straight away after their first slip up in the league this season, the very first match at Motherwell. And it's like he's blocking out the fans. He's just kind of blocking out the fan noise, the expected going backwards in his early weeks, the reputation they arrived with, people telling the Swansea fans, Southampton fans telling us you'll go backwards in the first couple of months in the job. Well, that before things go well, that's now been more than fulfilled. That quota, that job has now been more than fulfilled. When we start losing even our kind of UEFA Europa League competence, I find I'm running out of any patience. It was like we won last Saturday, only for the same reason that Satan turns off the fires in hell for about 10 minutes, every couple of weeks. Because it's just to give you a wee taste of, what it could be like for you. Here's what you could have won if you won the... And if it keeps the fires on all the time, you might start adjusting. You might start adjusting to the fact that you're on fire all the time and start getting a wee bit used to it, and it's not as bad as it should be. So he turns it off altogether every now and then. So you go, oh my God, because this is what it's like. This is what it's like to be in heaven. Everything's just nice and cool, and you're no burning, and then he turns it back on to feel. And that's what it felt like. It's like, oh, we beat Hibs 2-0. Imagine we could win 2 games in a row. Remember we used to do this. We used to win 2. No, it's Genk. It's sheer torture. It's always going to be sheer torture. It's us, the support. We're the ones who want the information. Talking about torturing folk, the ones who want to see the plans. It feels like we're getting waterboarded, but we're the ones who want to understand the details of where this is all going. Yet it's us who are getting waterboarded. I can't keep playing back that Gary Lineker interview. The Goal Hanger Productions, the Rest is Football interview that's enthused me about Russell Martin when I was researching him when he got the job. I've talked about it plenty of times in this pod. I can't keep playing back that interview to reassure myself why Russell Martin wants to impose an all-out attacking style in his teams, and I can't keep reassuring myself that this is suited to solving the main reason Rangers haven't won the league for the last 4 seasons. We need to know how to play all-out attacking football because we're going to have more of the ball. I can't keep reassuring myself in this. I now need to hear more kind of explanation of how it's been implemented, Russell. I need to know, what is it? I need to know why what I'm seeing at this point in time is so far from what we all need Rangers to be. You just need to do a wee check. I'm not asking for Rangers to be brilliant ahead of time. Just need to know it's going, why you think it's still going according to plan, why you can just tell interviewers who do get on my nerves the way they go for you. Just, no, we're just going to, everything's normal. There's no disaster. I know that it's all doom mongering from the journalists. They're trying to put words in your mouth. They're trying to paint a picture as the very leading questions are putting to you in a very leading tone. What do you do now, Russell? He's go back to training and just sort it. But I think we're at the point where the Rangers support, we need a wee bit more info. Just check in with us, just to touch base. Just make contact and let us know. I'll not take much convincing. I'm on board already with the kind of generalities, the general feeling, the need for possession-based style of football at Rangers, and the fact it will take a while to implement such a level of change. Because I've been watching us playing counter-attacking football for the last season or so, but my belief needs a wee top-up, Russell. I've been selling your plan all season on this podcast, but now I need head office to send me a few more leads. Just send me a bit of literature, glossy, that I can hand over to the clients. And it's just, we're looking a bit unconvincing these days. If you can't provide evidence that the plan is working on the park, at least explain it in your pressers. I know the hacks, a lot of them are wankers, and but you have to understand when you're in these press conferences, it's really us you're talking to. It is us, the fans, that ultimately you are communicating with. I've started, like Tom English and all that a few weeks ago was horrific and a bloodlust. They were showing you, I was very sympathetic, Russell, but I'm getting the point. I need to know what's happening, because the other night, I sat the other night trying to work out how to paste together two different videos because my phone had cut out and I was recharging my phone so I could do the second half of my post-match reaction, but it wasn't going to be from outside Ibrox, it was going to be from my house. So I thought, if I could just cut and paste them together, that'd be quite funny. 1 minute I'm talking about Nico Raskin outside Ibrox, and bang, I'm back in here, and you'd be like, oh, that's great, he's done. But and also it'd be handy, there'd just be one video for you to watch, and thanks to everybody who was so nice and patient and watched both the videos. But I was sitting there waiting for my phone to charge up, and I've got Sky Sports News on in the telly, and it's that thing they do where it's two talking heads, two journalists. They've got them on to 1 or 2 in the morning. If you're doing podcasts, you will know about this. You're sitting there with on mute, really, because they're usually always talking about Manchester United have farted, so let's go into that for 5 hours. But suddenly they flashed up something. I thought, that's a Russell Martin quote they've just flashed up there. And it was that Miguel Delaney. And he was saying it's an outdated style of play that he's trying to implement, and it's probably culturally not suited to the club he's trying to implement it at. Now, Miguel Delaney might have a wee, he might have a bit of skin in this game in terms of Rangers and what he thinks about Rangers fans and their political attitudes and that kind of thing, but that's just, it's starting to scare me. Jonathan Liu is just sitting, he's just looking blankly, thinking, "Who are Rangers?" I know he's a great journalist, Jonathan Liu, but he's to talk about English stuff. But it's kind of scaring me. This style, I've heard it a few times that it's outdated. The style that Russell Martin is trying to impose. Do you remember the last time we were happy? Man, that guy. I've just got this image. You don't think of moods. You can't define feelings like visually. People like Mark Rothko and that certainly try to, but you, instead of just saying it's that last time we were happy, you just have an image. It has to be all nailed in an image for you when you're just sitting going through these things in your head. You're just feeling them instinctively, and it's the boy Easter Road. Remember the boy Easter Road? He's dancing. Tonight's gonna be a good night. I always confuse it with the last time I was at Easter Road watching Rangers. I've been at Easter Road a couple of times since, to see Qatar and to see Canada. Played against Scotland. But I've not been Easter Road as an away supporter supporting Rangers since 2007-2008 when we drew 0-0 with Hibs in the Scottish Cup. We won the replay now, and that was the feeling then, and it matches. Maybe it was the same game, but it's half time, and it's the away end at Easter Road, and it's the fellas going up to the vomitory, the concourse, and that is it, Black Eyed Peas. Tonight's gonna be a good night, Mazel Tov. And it's all that, and the guy's just dancing, and a few folk catch him dancing. He's a bit pissed, probably, but no completely pissed, no out of it at all. And it's some good moves. So folk are like, hey. And then they've put this on the PA. They put this on the PA or the tannoy, whatever it is, at Easter Road, and he starts dancing. And then he's like, folk start clapping along as he's dancing. and he just gets it, but it starts kicking in properly, to the main part of the song. He just rips off his jacket, and jacket around about the head and chucks it to somebody, and then he starts properly getting down. And I'm talking, it's Prince, eat your heart out. JK, eat your heart out. James Brown, eat your heart out. Jeffrey Daniel, you've got a rival. You've definitely got a rival there. And I'm just, nobody was caring. But I'm assuming we certainly weren't getting beat at that point in the game. I'm assuming it's a game we eventually won. It's just it's a video. You can probably look up on YouTube. I've not seen it for a while. I don't need. I've just got it in here. That's it. Because folk are, you're all about singing sectarian songs and blah blah blah. And I'm just, that's what it's like though. That's what it's actually like. That's why you go. Everybody's just, we're here. We're queer. Get used to it. We're doing the business. Everything's going to be fine. And it's just tonight's the night. Oh, it's. We just haven't felt like that for far too long. And I get it confused in my head, as I say, with this game we drew 0-0 in the Scottish Cup with Hibs, 2007-2008, one of the games. We also did the replay with Partick Thistle. I was at both of the games. I was on my run at that point in time. I hadn't missed a Rangers domestic cup match anywhere in the country. I hadn't missed any finals. So it was going all over the place. It was a good, 10 years or something like that. I didn't miss a domestic cup game anywhere. Rangers, and I was through Easter Road in the Sunday. I think it was the following Sunday we beat them 1-0. No, Walter went into in the replay. He went into the Hibs dugout to take on Mixu Patalainen, probably the biggest guy ever as a striker in Scottish football. He just goes in there to start a ram with him because Nacho Novo had been sent off, but Walter talked about it later. He says that the crowd wasn't, the atmosphere was a bit dead, so I just wanted to get in there, just start something. Would you go and take on Mixu Patalainen a square goal just to get stuff started? I think he'd said something about he'd helped get Nacho Novo sent off as well, but they got the place gone. Only goal of the game, Chris Burke. Chris Burke's going the only goal of the game, which tells you in itself maybe how long ago that was since. But this is the replay at Partick Thistle with the replay against Hibs, went to extra time and penalties against Dundee United in the League Cup final, extra time, and penalties against St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup semi-final. Ali's taken on board. He's doing training. Ali's doing on-the-job training to learn how to be the manager, because Walter was going to leave at one point in time, so maybe Walter's having to intervene for the extra time and the penalties. But besides that, last time we're really happy, and I kind of casually believing, authentic, everything's going to be all right sort of way. The fact everything was very much not all right behind the scenes, and by 2012 we knew it. Is that why we're scared to be happy again? Or is it just right now Russell Martin has got us being absolutely pish? Talking to Sky yesterday in his specs, Russell Martin trying to hide his eyes, trying to look more intelligent, or was it a disguise? It was my sympathy for him in interviews is gone in the last few days. I hear it now, as I say. I hear that kind of annoying noise you've all been talking about. Europe, that's hypocrisy from me. Losing in Europe puts me off. It puts me off any manager. All season people have been telling me Clement, Barry, Beale, they would have won the games against St Mirren, against Motherwell, against Dundee. Again, well, they didn't. They literally didn't. And all this year as well, they didn't. It's no like ancient history we're talking about here. So that was the point of changing everything again, of changing a manager yet again. I know that makes us upset, and we'll have to another season where it feels like we're starting again. But my retort has been, it's worth it. It's worth a wee bit of going backwards, a wee bit of short-term pain for the long-term progress he's here to bring. When it comes to, I didn't really know that. I just meant in terms of domestic situation in Europe, though. Our Europa League pride is that's not for grabs. I'm not having that at all. Not having any dent in that. That's not going to go backwards in any way. That's not going to be compromised in any way, shape or form. So that don't take a step back. Thursday nights are our night. This is our competition. The fact that Celtic played on Wednesday night against Red Star Belgrade just seems appropriate. They'll play next Thursday at tea time, where we play Thursday night. It's like Thursday night is our night. You can get stuffed in the Champions League all you want, Russell, but the Europa League, the UEFA Europa League, Barry, Clement, Beale, Gio, Gerrard, they would all have stuffed Genk on Thursday. A shockingly bad Genk side, and Russell Martin lost to them. Stop talking about the red card. John Lundstrom versus Alashkert, red card. Off he goes. We win the game 1-0. 2 sent off in Bashkortostan. But Rangers still progress against Ufa on the other side of the world, basically. These are qualifiers, yeah, but this group, this 36 team format, if we go from appearing in the Europa League final in 2022 to appearing in the last 16, automatically missing out the knockout round of 32 or round of 24, whatever it is, as we did last season, finishing top 8 and qualifying automatically for the last 16. If we go from that to... This is under a guy who lost at Queen's Park. I mean, Philip Clement lost at Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup, but he still got us through twice, 2 seasons in the trot. He finished top of the group, and it was a 4-team group, and then he finishes in the top 8 to make sure we miss out the extra knockout rounds in January or February and go straight into the last 16. If we go from that to not reaching the knockout rounds from a group that sees 24 of 36 teams progress, then I will be that Norwich City fan, Mr. Cafu of Norfolk, who ran onto the park at Carroll Road and threw his season ticket at Brian Gunn, so that your favourite, most influential gaffer, Russell, Mr. Paul Lambert, could take over at Norwich and take you to Norwich. Paul Lambert, who he won a Champions League with Borussia Dortmund. Fantastic achievement for Scottish football, that, winning that Champions League with Borussia Dortmund. I'm not being sarcastic, I toasted him that night, Paul Lambert, but he also helped Celtic become the first Scottish team to reach a European final in the 21st century, in 2003. That we've done it twice since then. That Rangers have twice been a Scottish team in a 21st century European final since then, and that Celtic haven't won a post-group stage knockout tie since 2004. Is one of the most kind of sustaining achievements and boasts of my entire Rangers life. If you spoil that while they're in the same group as us, while Celtic are in the same European group as us, then you can do one, Russ. Even I have got my limits. I can't handle it. I've lost it. I'm now kind of genuinely raging. Negativity. That's the thing with negativity. If you allow it in, it will work. I don't mean, let's be all kind of kumbaya, happy clappy. That's the way to go. Just, hey guys, you're doing well. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Look ahead to tomorrow. I'm not talking about that kind of blue sky stuff. That shite actually empties you of real belief. I mean, holding what you have. Hold what you have. If you even contemplate a loss being endurable or tolerable, it will right away happen and let you know why it isn't. And I'm believe it or not, I'm including myself in this. I took it too far. The Champions League playoff this season, that's a bonus. It's bonus territory. Us playing Bruges in the Champions League playoffs, well, it's all about just making sure we get into the Europa Leagues minimum, the Europa League group stage minimum. That's where we usually are. That's where level, so to speak, we do well, and that would probably get tanked if we get into the Champions League. He's get through 2 ties. He was supposed to get beat by Panathinaikos, Russell Martin, and he's not just beat them. He's eliminated Pilsenia as well. This is all bonus stuff, So it doesn't. The minute you call it a bonus, i.e., something you don't need, not an essential, you end up getting your record pumping in Europe equalled, but probably in the worst circumstances. It's Liverpool and Real Madrid. Liverpool and Real Madrid teams that were in an era of reaching and winning the European Cup or the Champions League final when they beat us by 6 goals in a one-off game, 9-1 across the 2 group games. Liverpool 7-0 on aggregate against Real Madrid back in the 60s, that one. This is Club Bruges, who are doing really well. They're a good side, obviously, and he did eventually mention it. He did eventually slip it into one of his press conferences, Russell Martin. It was nearly as embarrassing as when he talked about the tickets that weren't sold for cup games in the last few seasons at Ibrox, like he's researched that. But the minute you start thinking, it's probably going to be acceptable to lose it, you end up getting totally destroyed. No, it's not acceptable. And you've done that thing. I've mentioned this before this season. Every time you've said to yourself before a game, I would take a draw. I would bite your hand off for a draw in that game. See, when you do get the draw in that game, 99 times out of 100, you're saying to yourself, the most obvious, if only, in football. You can't. See that draw there? See that draw? See if we'd scored one more, just one more goal, we'd have won the game. I'm kind of raging because we went forward a few times. We did actually have the ball at our feet at one point. If we'd kicked it really hard, that would have been one more goal than the opposition scored, and it wouldn't have been a draw. We'd have won. You know, you instantly regret the minute you're just taking anything less. Context is fine, but setting yourself up as doesn't really matter. As a support, we've declared ourselves kind of sick of European success, as if we can swap it for a league title. This is the whole kind of this is the vibe I think that Russell's on. It's like, as I say, if he knows about the fact that we didn't sell out any of our cup games at Ibrox over recent seasons, domestic cup games, and he's off on that as a defence for the crowd last Saturday night, then he absolutely knows that Rangers supporters have been eschewing European success. Not all of us, obviously, but it's been held up as that's a distraction. That's what's stopping us doing well in the league. And Thursday night, we saw the effects of that thinking. A squalid loss to a shit side in front of a unmotivated, smaller than usual crowd. Never mind the money lost in gate review and Europa League points prizes. What do points make? We're keeping this snappy. It's the bloody pride. It's all about the lost pride for me, the achievement, the legacy built up over the most consistent pound for pound period of European achievement. And yes, I will say it again, my Rangers supporting life. It's energy. It's just it's no there. It's gone. Hopefully it's on its way back. This is your Fat Eck podcast here, going on too long as it always does, folks. Russell Martin, 4 wins in 14 competitive games as Rangers manager. He remains in situ. It goes on. It will go on. What's your lineup going to be, Alec? What's your lineup for Sunday? Who cares? What's the difference? Doesn't matter what the lineup's going to be. I know who I'd like to see playing and that kind of thing, but I'm getting kind of numb. And what's Livingston up to? What's their kind of form just now? We don't need me to tell you that. It's rough. They're about 8th or something in the league. I think they've lost 3 games, but they've won one, which is more than we have. They've won a league game. And David Martindale, you know what he's like. He's an absolute genius when it comes to the yo-yo stuff and achieving more with the whole than the sum of the parts. I've never really been confident with that phrase at all. It's only a bit too complicated for me. But if anybody knows how to sort out Russell Martin, it's probably Davy Martindale. I'm getting kind of numb, and maybe that's what Kavanagh and Marath want. They're kind of bringing us to heel. Or Marathi, sorry, Parag Marathi and Andrew Kavanagh are joint owners. Perhaps, and this is something I've talked about before, I think it's maybe what they want. It's kind of bringing us to heel as a support, letting us know who's in charge, or maybe, talking to Michael Mann. What's on my snagging list? I've got my snagging items a bit late in the day for that. The main snagging item of the pod the other night was my phone ran out of power, so it didn't happen. But I was talking about similarities between Heat and Thief and all the films of a certain kind of style that Michael Mann could probably end up saying. Someday, a Celtic fan, that's my boy, a Celtic man, got in touch, and it's like, if I'd known this, I should have. That's how I was tired. I should have been sharp enough to say this when I ended up having to split it into 2 parts because my phone powered down prematurely. I should have said, this is me doing a sequel. I started off the first part, post-match reaction pod to the Genk game, part 1. I started talking about how it was a franchise. Michael Mann sounded like he wanted to make Heat into a franchise, and I was talking about Godfather 2, Godfather 3. That was, Genk post-match reaction pod, the sequel, wasn't it? And that's my boy. He's saying to me, "You're you're doing a franchise with this post-match reaction pod." That was quite fun. But I said I was talking about Michael Mann stuff and all that, and I forgot to mention a few of the other things that were really similar about Heat and Thief. But I've already made this pod far too long, so we'll maybe no bother doing that. But Scotland against Bosnia, I was at that game. Scotland-Bosnia game. That's another one. I was at Ibrox. Scotland games at Ibrox. Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think John Collins scored the only goal of the game. We won 1-0. That was going back a bit. I think that was the Euro 2000 qualifiers, perhaps, very late 90s. Georgia. Saw us playing Georgia at Ibrox, and that was quite fascinating because that was the first I saw us playing Georgia at Hampden Shota Arveladze scoring for Georgia that day. But 2014, I think it was the qualifiers for Euro 2016, Gordon Strachan with the manager, but I think it was my sister's birthday, so it's October 2014. It was the first Scotland international after the devolution, the independence referendum, the Indie ref, and I thought, obviously I voted no, but I'm not trying to say it's not something that should happen. Just the people that were in charge of that kind of thing. No, that's not going to happen, and for the reasons that were being put forward. No, I don't think so. But you had to feel sorry, and a lot of Rangers supporters. I know at least two guys. I'm very close with two Rangers supporters who did vote yes. Maybe nobody kind of like Scottish nationalists as such, but just thought it was a better move. But I just remember thinking, I had to feel so. You just got to think, if you're one of the fundamentalist Scottish nationalists who hates all things English and hates being part of Britain, most of these folk probably avoid going to Scotland games, because I see very little SNP stuff at Scotland games. But the first Scotland game after it's at Ibrox. You're probably thinking, yeah, that's absolutely spot on. And the only pro SNP song I've ever heard at a Scotland game, and I've been going to Scotland games for 40 years or whatever, 34 years at that point. The back of the Copeland Road stand. One Alex Salmond. There's only one. I don't even go to the second, but that was it. It just died a death. It never happened. But I was in the away end. Maybe that's symbolic as well for a traitor to your own country, son. I'm more Scottish than you'll ever be. But I was in the away corner. I thought I've wanted to go to every bit. That's a bit Ibrox you never get to. And I think the Georgia support was up in the main stand that night. So I'm like, I'll take the wee. I'll just see if I can get in there. Get the wee corner where the Genk fans were the other night. Where the Celtic fans go when we play the Celtic at Ibrox these days. When they get an allocation, right in that wee corner between this. I've been in the corner between, when we get beat 3-0. I think it ended up 3-1, but Burnley went, Sean Dyche's Burnley, the second season of Trot. We played in a pre-season friendly because Mark Warburton was still the manager, and he's mates with Sean Dyche, and they were 3-0 up within half an hour, and I thought, I think we might get beat 8-0 here. I think he took the foot off the gas and got the sub-zone quick style. They totally outclassed us. I was in the wee one at the Copeland, the wee corner bit at the Copeland that day, just because it was a pre-season friendly. I've just got a wee different part of the ground I've never been to. And in Scotland against Georgia that day, I went to the away corner, because there was all Scotland fans in there. It was actually a home corner. The Georgia fans were up in the the bit the Celtic fans used to get in the days where they had a tiny bit of the main stand right in the westernmost part of the main stand front was the 24 Georgia fans that day. But that's a game I never went to. But the main snagging thing was the fact that pod was far too long and we put to sleep, as this one is doing right now, and I'm not even getting into any details about who we want to see on the park tomorrow. I would basically have the starting 11 from the other nights, except I want Ant-Man to start instead of Mikey Moore, and I want Majowski up front instead of big Youssef Chermiti, who's a pod on his own, how poor his performance was the other night. But he was left flapping about the young lads because we just generally were a bit garbage and had to go down to 10 men, of course. But Collateral is another Michael Mann movie I didn't mention on Thursday. There's not a lot of prison stuff involved in that. But maybe this is what Marat and Kavanagh are trying to do just now. I didn't mention Collateral on my Thursday night rant about Michael Mann movies, but they know we've explored all the kind of usual attempts at returning to the top. Over the past few seasons, we've just kept swapping manager. Signing new players, swapping managers, swapping heads of recruitment, if for want of a better phrase. Hasn't worked. This kind of escaping our certain second place fate, we haven't been able to do it. It's like they've decided, just like Jamie Foxx does as Max, the cab driver, who's a man, who's over 25 years old, and he's wearing a hoodie, so he's obviously a total loser, and he's got glasses as well. Max, Jamie Foxx character in Collateral, and Michael Mann's Collateral 2004 film with Tom Cruise, and it's a film kind of heading towards its third act, the start of the third act really. He's been, we thought he was going to get rescued. He thought Mark Ruffalo, who, to be honest, Mark Ruffalo, if I've got one gay crush, I think it might be Mark Ruffalo. He's just so nice, isn't he? He's just so nice. He would back, and he's saving him. He's saving Max, and he gets him out the nightclub. You're going to be all right now, and then Vincent, evil Vincent, Tom Cruise, who's borrowed Robert De Niro's suit and shirt from Heat. Just think the wardrobe. I think Michael Mann would have a better wardrobe department than that, but he just shoots him, just kills Mark Ruffalo, stone dead. Oh my God! He's dead, so that's it. Max has got to get in it. He's never going to get away from this guy. He's never going to get away from this psychopath he's got. And they call this hitman that's murdering folk and using his taxi as the taxi between. So he just starts saying to him, it's like, and Tom Cruise's Vincent is saying to him, they've been talking earlier as if they're pals, obviously. Well, he's basically grooming him to do this job for him, and he's like, you're talking about you're going to start up your own taxi business. You've not even put down a deposit in that Lincoln that would be the limousine, the posh kind of taxi. It's a driving service you're always talking about you're going to do. And that woman that got in your, there was a vibe. You were telling me that beautiful woman that got in your cab earlier on, there was a real vibe there, but you've got her phone number, but you haven't even phoned her yet. You never bothered phoning her. You're just going to wake up one day, you're going to be old, and you're going to realise that this stuff was never going to happen because you were never going to try. Why the hell are you still driving a taxi at your age? Shut up, just keep driving me. I bet I've only got one more person to kill. And Max thinks, no, that's it. And it's just I've had enough. And he starts saying to him, no, you're right, actually, you're right. Now, the one thing about, the having this sociopath in the back of my cab is it's made me kind of stand up and look at myself. I'd never really thought about it until you said that. So thanks for that. Thanks for he's speeding up the car. He's speeding up the car, and as like the Tom Cruise, Vincent is getting the gun. He's like, just slow down. You're going through red lights now. You're going to attract attention for the police. I'm a hitman. I don't want attention to the police, but at the same time, you're going to risk hurting us. And he just keeps speeding up and he's speeding up. And you're right, Darwin, I Ching, all that kind of bullshit. He's been, the Tom Cruise character's been quoting him earlier. Seize the day, basically. Carpe diem. He's saying, well, let's just do that then. Let's just shut up, basically. Let's crash it, and he deliberately crashes his own taxi. Just so happens it's a very poor part of Collateral is there's always roadworks going on where the workmen have accidentally left a ramp-shaped object, a ramp-shaped assemblage of rubble, etc., so that the stuntman can turn the yellow cab taxi up in the air. I'm talking about colour palettes and everything. Look at all the silver stuff and all the yellow stuff, yellow cabs, too scared to live his own life. Look at the cab turns up, upside down. The two of them are okay, they both survive it with scratches and all that, but he's broken it up. When the cab lands, and it's sitting, it settles. It's that thing where it's no Michael Mann. There's a crash in a movie, a Hollywood movie in particular, just explosions. That's it, right? But Michael Mann, he wants you to watch it until everything settles down. It goes quiet again, because that's the thing that really kicks in about a moment of violence. It's how everything just goes back to normal afterwards. And it's like the last bits of broken glass and rubber and that settling down. It does the same thing in Heat, where the security truck gets pushed into the car lot, the car showroom type thing, outside car lot, and all the cars, and it's the bunting and that on it. It's all kind of slowly settling. It shows that in slow motion, just like calm before the storm, but also after the moment of impact. It's really beautiful. And the whole point is, it's just like, sometimes the only way to change stuff is to just get our taxi. As Marath and Kavanagh are doing, they're just going to get our taxi into a crash on purpose, rather than ineptly accept death and murder at the hand of an annoying kind of Scientologist midget in the back seat. We're not going to start. Let's fund this shizzle up, is what they're saying. Let's implode this routine of doing enough to finish second, but not enough to finish first. Let's risk finishing last. Let's get ourselves second bottom of the table minimum. Let's risk total wipeout of Rangers in the SPFL Premiership, rather than just keep trying the same old close but no cigar, tiresome, irritating, frustratingly routine finishing second. It feels like we're in the crash portion of that model at this very moment in time right now. And like Max and Collateral, our driver is wearing glasses now. Watched Ray. I've finished one each. I know it finished one each, but I only saw about 20 minutes of Arsenal against Man City. Was that last Sunday? I think that'd be last Sunday. That's correct. I had it on in the background. I was doing other things. And Ray, the Arsenal goalkeeper, I saw him doing it very well, and it was Scott Bain of Falkirk against Hibs. I saw wee highlights of their game. They played midweek. They drew 2 each, Falkirk and Hibs. I saw Scott Bain of Falkirk doing it quite poorly. And then Jack Butland, this time last Saturday night, I saw him doing it quite performatively at the end of our game in the League Cup. against Hibs when we're 2-0. It's this thing of inviting the press to counter-press, and it starts with the goalkeeper. I mean, Ray at Arsenal, he's doing it. He's got Bernardo Silva and the big Norwegian fella are there at either side. He's knocking the ball between the two of them to the guy at the edge of the box, the Arsenal, and he takes it and he turns and he's away. Saliba or whoever, he's away, and that's how the attack starts. That's how Man City start their attacks. They've got problems with Donnarumma. You know, one of the best shot stoppers in the world, Donnarumma, who's won the Champions League and the Euros with England, and he's won with England against England with Italy, saving penalties in the final and all that, and he's won the Champions League with PSG. Here he is at Man City, and folk have got thinking Pep's probably got a problem with him because he can't play the ball at his feet. He's not the sweeper goalie, and this seems to be the thing now. You invite the press so you can counter press it, so you start breaking lines from your goalkeeper up the park onwards. You know, and I'm thinking, maybe is that outmoded? Is that what Miguel Delaney's talking about? I don't know, folks. I'm going to watch more of my Joshua Barry and Adam Thornton podcast to find out more about the tactics. I've heard them saying maybe the tactical model. I'm sure they've said they've got doubts or whatever, but they know what he's trying to do, but maybe know the best way to do it. If it's suited to Rangers, I don't know. This thing where you go between the two opposing strikers, you invite them onto the goal, and it looks so risky. But so when we did it last week, it was Connor Barron, I think, came to the edge of the box, and Boyle and Bowie, I think Boyle was off by that point, but Jack Butland played it through the two of them, but we're 2-0 up. I think it's injury time, and it was almost like, yeah, boss, this is what you want us to do, isn't it? It's kind of show-offy, it's kind of performative. So Scott Bain of Falkirk made a complete arse of it against Hibs a few days later, but he got away with it, and Hibs drew 2 each with Falkirk. Falkirk drew 2 each at home with Hibs, but that's all I can really see when I see the model. That's as far as I can see it working, inviting the press to counter presses. It's still a valid style. It seems everyone from Arteta to McGlynn is using it. Perhaps it's a cultural change being forced upon us. You have to get tanked a few times for a few months to learn it properly. I don't know what's happening really just now with Russell Martin's style. I just need to see some sign that it's beginning to bed in, and all I know right now is that the plastic at Livingston, which is apparently new plastics, a new pitch, it's been upgraded, seems like the very surface in which theoretical football should be played. A type of pitch as close to the materials of a tactics board as it's possible to get. Maybe pre-match. It's like classroom football, lecture hall soccer almost. We seem to be on the pitch painfully trying to remember what it is we're supposed to do. Like the guys they're trying to remember the square root of pi or something like that. They're trying to remember the theory, they're trying to remember the calculation, they're trying to remember the rubric. What was it I would do now? Where am I supposed to be if he's over there? And while they're doing that, they get the ball taken off them by vastly inferior footballers with a vastly inferior tactical plan. Maybe pre-match Russell can get on. They can get on the plastic at Livingston, and he can spray paint a little mark on the pitch for where each of our players should be starting, their starting position, and a spray paint another mark for where as far as they should go. Don't go any further forward than that. Don't go any further back than that. That's when we're defending. That's when we're going forward. So you go out and spray paint 22 little marks on the park for each of our players. Or maybe you can just spray paint right across the middle of the park. From one goal to the other, in words that are facing the lengthwise stand that's opposite the main stand at Livingston, where the Rangers support will be tomorrow. Just where was Raskin on Thursday night? Where was your hero on Thursday night? Could spray paint that across. I don't know, but it's on the cusp. It's on the edge. My belief in Russell Martin. We need that. We need a win. I'm not going to start saying that now. No one I've backed up the need for long, slow, painful transition, but we need a sign. We need something written on the new Livingston plastic that communicates that the plan is there. Far less working. We need just all the red arrows and the yellow bits that go across and the wee kind of white spinning bits at the bottom of our players' feet on the Monday Night Football type kind of. It's like a puggy they're playing into it that puts it up on a big screen. Neville and Carragher. And I've not watched Monday Night Football for a while, but I want all these kind of things just showing that this is how Rangers had 25 shots on goal today, and this is how 25 shots on target and 5 of them went in. This is how they did it. It's more like they used to get the. First had Space Invaders. That was late 70s, Space Invaders and the Amusements. Oh, fantastic. But then, I remember being doing, was it in Great Yarmouth or somewhere on holiday? And that'd be like early 80s. And seeing for the first time that thing, the table. It was like under a glass table, like a coffee table type scenario. But it's in a pub. You know, pubs kids were allowed into, obviously, when I was there. It's meant for adults, but for kids it would be, so you'd sit and have a pint while playing Space Invaders against each other across this table. That's the kind of Monday night football. We want that style, or that kind of screen stuff. Just Rangers, that sort of way. But then, if it has all been part of a plan, if the start of this season, how painful it's been, how awful it's been, is working in the same way it worked at Swansea eventually, in the same way it worked at Southampton eventually for Russell Martin. Maybe blowing Livi away, having 25 shots on target and pitting 5 past their keeper is too much too soon. I mean, look what happened. We blew away Victoria Pilsen 3-0. Too much too soon. I don't just want a win. I want a performance. No, you don't. I just want us to win. No, you don't. I want us to just win. I'm afraid so, because then it all makes sense. Anyway, we don't do faith, do we? We certainly don't do blind faith. But let's remember that we do loyalty. We are the loyal. Let's remember that. Alec, that we do loyalty. I ain't got no money and I ain't got no hair.